If you're a nosy little creature like I am, this one's for you. I'm taking you through a week of what I spend living in Montreal as a single 33-year-old woman who's currently trying to pay off debt and live frugally. This is just a plain old sample of what I spend in a week. There's no shock value. I'm not doing anything for clickbait. It's just an extrapolation of how I spend my money on a given week without doing anything too crazy. The weather in Montreal right now still kind of sucks, if I'm being honest, and I'm in the last little bits of a six-figure tax bill that I'm trying to get out of. So I don't spend too lavishly on anything crazy or anything like that, which is good for my budget, but might not be an Oscar-worthy YouTube performance. But I still think it's interesting to see how an average person spends like a realistic amount of money in the week. If you're new here, my name is Kate. I'm a freelance writer and guidebook author living in Montreal. I live alone in a studio apartment, and I'm currently trying to pay off the last little bit of what was an insane tax bill that set me back for years. So I've been living frugally, extremely frugally, for the last 2 years, and I'm finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I wanted to do a video like this, one, because I love watching them. There's something about just watching the mundane parts of life from strangers on the internet that's so satisfying, especially when it comes to budgeting and spending money. I personally am someone that can talk about money all day long, and a lot of my friends find it a little tedious. So it's kind of fun to find that community online and just watch what they spend at the grocery store on a random weeknight. The other reason I wanted to do this is because I thought it would be interesting to just see what a regular single girl living in the city spends on a weekly basis. Like I said, I'm pretty mindful. I have a really strict budget that I stick to, so it's not exciting, but I think it's still cool to see the realistic side of spending for the average person. So some quick housekeeping. I'm not going to be including things like my rent, my subscriptions, my bills. No fixed expenses will be included in the weekly overview, but I will include them at the end of the video. I thought it would be interesting to tally up what I spend month over month and then divide that by 4 so we can see a realistic picture of what I spend in an average week. But I won't be including that in the daily breakdown. So yeah, I love talking about money. I love talking about the cost of living, and if that's your vibe, welcome. Let's get into it. So on Monday, I thought it would be a pretty low spend day. I had a doctor's appointment Monday morning, and I ended up spending the whole day in the hospital, which sounds way worse than it is. I have psoriatic arthritis, so it was kind of just quarterly checkup. I had to get blood work done and an x-ray as well. And it made me feel kind of like weird and sorry for myself, even though I'm perfectly healthy and I should be grateful. So I ended up going to the grocery store by my house on the walk home from the hospital. I spent $20.48, and that was on plain white bread, American cheese, a cherry Coke, and a little like flatbread pizza because I wanted to make just like pure comfort food. So I made a grilled cheese for dinner that night, and it was lovely. Oh yeah, and then once I got home, I realized I didn't really have anything to go as a side for the grilled cheese. So I popped back out to the store and I bought frozen fries to cook in my air fryer, wet cat food for my cat, and a thing of hummus to have for breakfast the next day. So in total for Monday, I spent $31.82, but I actually got a refund from Amazon for $54.61. So according to Girl Math, I actually made money on Monday. Just joking. Moving on to Tuesday, I should add that I work 100% from home. So I'm not spending on things like transportation or lunches out or coffees on the go or anything like that. Like I work from home every single day. So that's reflected in what I spend in a week. I make my coffee at home. I have every meal at home. It's boring, but it's good for my budget. So on Tuesday, I spent $14.25 at Pharmaprix, which is the Quebec version of Shoppers Drug Mart. I bought a off-brand Gaviscon, which is like an antacid for digestive issues. This is so embarrassing, but I was talking to my doctor about how I thought I might have inflammation in my heart because I've been having a lot of like pain in this side, and I have an autoimmune disease, so it's not that wild to assume that some other inflammation could be happening in my body. But she told me that all of my symptoms just sounded like indigestion, and I should buy Gaviscon and drink it when I feel the pain. And that has worked, so embarrassing, but $14 well spent. And then I went to this Asian grocery store downtown called Marché Nuan. I spent $9.99 on like a jumbo tub of kimchi. I really love having kimchi just like as a side for certain breakfast foods and for dinner as well. So yeah, $9.99 there. And then I went to the Dollarama. So I've only been living in this apartment for about a month. Before that, I was living in my parents' house, and before that, I was living abroad. So I've had to kind of slowly restock things as the days go on. So I stopped at the Dollarama. I bought a large soap, like a large hand soap refill thing, and a soap dispenser so that I don't have to keep buying those like single soft serves or soft. No, I'm not washing my hands with ice cream. The single soft soap containers, they add up quickly. So for the soap and the soap dispenser, it was actually cheaper than like a month of soft soap. And then I also bought, so glamorous, I bought a toilet brush, melatonin because I haven't been sleeping very well, and a vase because I wanted to pick up flowers on the way home. So in total at the Dollarama, I spent $24.14. And then continuing my walk home, I stopped at the grocery store next to my house and I bought tulips. I noticed they were on sale from my last trip to the grocery store. And so I was reminded of when I would always have fresh flowers in my house when I was more spendy, and I just decided to treat myself this week. So I spent $11.50 on grocery store tulips, which brought the total for Tuesday up to $59.88. And then on Wednesday, I had a pretty lazy day. I wasn't anticipating going out, but then I realized I was running very low on coffee. So I ran to the grocery store halfway through my workday and I spent $13.74, and that is on coffee, Smarties. This is where I think I genuinely want to have like break down my grocery budget further. So like on this day, I spent almost $14 on coffee, Smarties, a chocolate bar, and cat food. So like half of that $13 was just on like treats because I wanted a sweet treat. And I kind of feel like I can get carried away with that. So I am thinking about having a category in my budget for non-essential grocery purchases just to see like how much am I really spending on random chocolate bars. Anyways, yeah, I got that from the grocery store. I love the coffee that I buy. It's that like red brick of Lavazza coffee, like the Italian coffee. And I know it's not the best, it's not artisanal or whatever, but most of the time it's on sale at my grocery store for $6 and it lasts me for about 10 days. Having one French press every day, which I think is like really economical, and the coffee tastes good. So I'm happy with that. And for some reason, when I was a child, I used to think that like brick coffee like that was so sophisticated. Like, it was like coming from a family of like Folgers drinkers, I was just like, wow, like a brick of coffee. How do you even use that? Like, what is this? So I do enjoy getting that coffee, even if it's the most budget friendly. It like makes me feel like a little sophisticated lady. So shout out to my inner child. But yeah, so the total for Wednesday was $13.74. It was just the one grocery run. Then on Thursday, I went out to get sort of like essentials for Friday because it is a long weekend here in Quebec. It's Easter, and I wasn't sure if things were going to be open on Friday. So I went out to the SAQ, which is like the government alcohol agency. I spent $14.95 on a bottle of white wine. Usually I spend around $10. I used to be a true wine snob, and then as I started to watch my budget a little bit more, I don't know, I felt okay about spending like under $15 for a bottle, and I have like my tried and true picks. And my white wine tried and true was sold out. It's $12 usually, I think. So this one was a little bit more expensive, but still good. And then at the grocery store, I spent $15.24. That was on a $3.50 frozen cheese pizza that I have every Friday. Kewpie mayo. I think Kewpie mayo is Japanese, and it has like a pretty big following. I'm not really sure why, but the reason I bought it is because it's made with only egg yolks and not egg whites. And I'm actually kind of allergic to egg whites, so I'm excited to see how this mayo treats me. And then also toilet paper. So glamorous. And that brings the total for Thursday up to $30.19. Moving on to Friday, as I mentioned, I've just moved into this apartment and it is a tiny studio. And when I mean tiny, I'm pretty sure it's under 200 square feet. And I'm trying to have friends over for a little game night, but I don't have a ton of space to host them. So I placed an order from IKEA for that like classic bistro set that everyone has. It was on sale. I think it was like $60 or $65. So that is a bistro table and 2 bistro chairs, which I will eventually put outside on my balcony. But I thought that would be a good way to add seating inside. So like have the 2 bistro chairs inside, use my desk, this desk, as the table, and then use my desk chair and maybe my bed as seating as well. And I think with the addition of those 2 chairs, I can probably get 4 people comfortably at my desk to play Scrabble or Monopoly or something. So yeah, my goal is to host a game night, but I just need to get the seating. So I finally broke down, ordered the patio set from IKEA, and then I also ordered a set of plates and a set of bowls because I've been living here for a month and I've been using 1 bowl and 1 plate. And I kind of thought that was cool at first. I was like, oh yeah, this is really like reflective of my frugal living and like minimalism, but it's a little bit ridiculous to use just 1 bowl and 1 plate, especially with cooking or like trying to store things in the fridge or whatever. So I broke down and I bought pretty sage plates from IKEA that I actually had at my last place, but I had to leave in Istanbul because they were too heavy to bring back home with me. So in total, the IKEA order was $102.30, and it should arrive sometime next week. Then on Friday, I ended up going to this pet store that I really like by my house to get cat food. So I spent $5.16 on cat food. My cat's getting a little older. He's 14, and I think he might be starting to develop arthritis because he's finding it harder to jump onto my bed. And it made me feel so emotional this week that I've just been spoiling him with wet cat food like tuna and salmon pate basically. So I've gotten him, I mean, you've noticed I've said cat food now multiple times, but yeah, so I spent $5.16 on this cat food. And then on the walk home, since it was Friday, I decided to stop at the grocery store, which was open even though it was Good Friday. And I bought a bag of Doritos, my guilty pleasure, for $4.60. And that brings the total for Friday up to $112.06. But it's a little bit of an out of the ordinary day because I'm not spending $100 on IKEA orders every day or even every week. So yeah, on Friday I enjoyed my frozen pizza and my chips. I had the rest of my wine and I spent the evening at the spa area at my building. It's really great. There's like indoor and outdoor hot tubs and a sauna. So I love doing that on Fridays. I call it my cotton candy day, and it's basically like I finish work, I go to the gym in my building, $0. I have a glass of wine in my apartment and a little snack, and then I get dressed and I go down to the sauna in my building. I basically do like a Nordic circuit. So like right now it's really cold out. I run outside, dip into the outdoor hot tub, read my book, come back inside, dry off in the sauna, the dry sauna, take a little shower, and then sometimes I'll do a couple of laps in the pool, or sometimes I'll repeat the circuit, which is $0. And then I go back upstairs, I turn on my oven, I heat up my frozen pizza, and I enjoy my frozen pizza and my wine while watching a show on Netflix. Like right now I'm watching Love on the Spectrum. Before that, I was watching Age of Attraction. I have really highbrow taste in television, if you couldn't tell. Yeah, moving on to Saturday. On Saturday morning, I woke up around 4 a.m., and that's because my boyfriend, who I'm in a long distance relationship with, was going to the military. He's Turkish, and serving in the military is mandatory there. So you pay a certain amount of money and then you serve for a month. I think the option is you either pay and you serve for a month, or you don't pay and you serve for 6 months. So thankfully, he paid and he's only serving for a month, but I won't hear from him. Like, he can't bring his smartphone, so we won't be able to FaceTime or text or anything for a whole month. So I woke up at 4 a.m. to say goodbye to him. And then we decided, this is like so cheesy, but we decided that we will read the same book while he is in the military and I'm here, so that it's like just kind of like a connection that we will have while we're not connected. So Saturday, after I took a little nap, I got up and I walked to the bookstore and I bought Midnight Library, which is the book we will both be reading this month. It was $25.19. Usually I get my books from the library or I buy them secondhand, but this was one that I kind of wanted to like keep afterwards and I had to find it quickly. Like I couldn't just like browse around until I find it. I have to like start reading it relatively soon so that I can finish it before he gets out of the military. So yeah, I feel like it might have been the first book that I bought new in like over a year. I do love going to the bookstore though. I went to Indigo, the downtown Indigo, and I visited my own book, which is sold in the travel section at Indigo. Shameless self promotion. This video was sponsored by me and my book. But yeah, so then after the bookstore, I went to Tim Hortons because I wanted to treat myself to a single Timbit after I hit 50 subscribers on YouTube. Woo! So hitting 50 subscribers, I went and got a Timbit. It cost a grand total of 45 cents, which does not seem like that expensive, but I actually worked at Tim Hortons when I was a teenager. So like when I was 15, and I remember the cost of a single Timbit was literally 10 cents, and now they're 45 cents. Like I remember you could get a 10 pack of Timbits for $1.15, and now a single Timbit is basically half of that price. So that was crazy, but it was really good. And it was kind of like silly and cute to celebrate 50 subscribers. And then on the walk home from there, I stopped at the grocery store by my house and I bought a block of tofu for $3.39. I'm trying to become better at like cooking little meals for myself and not just like having grilled cheese sandwiches for dinner. So on Saturday night I made myself like a fried tofu and then I made rice in my new rice cooker for the first time and it turned out super nice. I put Japanese rice seasoning on top of the rice. I think it's called furikake and it was so good. So the total for Saturday was $29.03. And then that brings us to Sunday, which is actually today. I wanted to get this video finished and uploaded to stick to my schedule that I'm trying to build. And I thought today was going to be a no spend day, so it worked out. But my friend Jordan actually invited me to go for drinks and catch up. We haven't seen each other in like 4 years. So after I'm done editing this video, I'm gonna go meet him and I think I'll probably end up spending about $25. I'll probably get 2 beers, and I haven't been out like to a pub since coming back to Montreal, so I'm not exactly sure how much 2 beers will cost, but I'm thinking with tax and tip, $25 should cover it. So the total for today will be $25. I'm for sure not going to buy food or take out when I'm out with him because I have leftover tofu and rice still in my fridge. And it was so good, honestly, like throwing that in the microwave after 2 beers is gonna be nice later tonight. So yeah, total for today will be $25. And so the overall total for the week of discretionary spending is $301.72, which is not bad. It's pretty in line with like my usual spending. So nothing shocking. I'm not like, oh my god, I have to redo my budget after seeing what I spend in a week. Like nothing like that. It's pretty normal. I'm pretty comfortable with this amount. Then I thought it would be interesting at the end because I didn't include my fixed expenses to kind of like add that all up. So like my rent, my bills, my tenant insurance, my subscriptions, etc. And then divided by 4. So all of my fixed expenses divided by 4 is $404.49. So that brings me to $706.21 for a week of spending on like everything that I spend on. And that would be an average of $2,824.84 a month, which is wild because that is my exact budget. I have another video on how I budget, and it's like I say 3,800, but that's because 1,000 goes to debt payoff. So 2,824 is literally like exactly what my budget is. So this week it was like I didn't go over budget, I didn't go under budget. I was like perfectly within budget almost to the dollar. So that's really funny. But anyways, that's what I spend living in Montreal by myself in a week. Nothing crazy, but I hope it was interesting. Let me know in the comments if anything surprised you or if you want to know anything about any of my spending or what I ended up spending with Jordan. I will let you know. See you in the next one.